we arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
I want to start the programme today with a name, a story that I can't get out of my head. The campaign has now started. This is your chance. Tell people, this is the politics hub. It's not correct. The tax burden is projected to go up.
No,
but I'm not. This is my interview. Look, this is ridiculous.
No one does care about us.
I'm really interested in that. On the politics hub, we like to push the boundaries. He's got the majority. The question is, what is he going to do with it?
I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories.
This is insane.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
We call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first.
Welcome back. You're watching Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they come into us. But first, our top stories. England have won the Rugby Union Women's World Cup, beating Canada by 33-13. On the eve of Labour conference, the Prime Minister has pledged to take the fight to reform UK, saying they offer only toxic divide and decline. The government has underwritten a £1.5 billion loan to Jaguar Land Rover to support its supply chain. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with Rory Peck Trust Executive Director John Williams and former Conservative Special Advisor Anita Boateng. So let's see what's on some of those front pages for you now. Well, the front page of The Observer celebrates England's Red Roses' victory in the Women's Rugby World Cup. On the eve of the Labour conference, the Sunday Telegraph has Chancellor Rachel Reeves facing a revolt from ministers demanding she scrap her fiscal rules to allow more public spending. The Times says Sir Keir Starmer plans to announce dozens of new towns and 300,000 new homes in his speech at the conference tomorrow, where he's expected to tell the audience that Labour can pull this around. While the Mirror has an exclusive interview with the PM, who's warned voters not to fall for grubby reform leader Nigel Farage. The Sunday Express says that according to an international affairs expert, war with Russia is inevitable unless NATO demonstrates strength after Moscow launched a spate of hybrid attacks across Europe. The Mail on Sunday has Prince Harry accusing the men in grey suits at Buckingham Palace of sabotaging his reconciliation with his father, King Charles. And we are joined tonight by John Williams and Anita Boateng. Welcome to you both. Good to see you. Let's start with the Sunday Times and this quote from Sir Keir Starmer. I think we can pull this round, says Starmer. This is suggesting that he seems to think that he's in a hole before even starting.
Yeah, absolutely. Every single time he gives one of these interviews, it ends up providing a quite damning quote. And I think that he, and certainly his spin doctors, will be regretting this one. Because imagine just a year ago, 16 months ago, the idea that you'd have a headline from Sir Keir Starmer saying, I think we can pull this round after pulling off an astonishing electoral victory. And I think it's a really candid assessment. He often does that in interviews of the fact that, an assessment and a realisation that things have certainly not gone to plan. And the difficulty with Keir Starmer, and I think there's some great polling in the Sunday Times story kind of showing how much of a solid lead reform has. There's always going to be these polls that show that Labour are trailing behind, but this feels very definitive and puts reform on course to win a majority. Again, if there were an election held today, and we are very, very, very far away from that, but it does underscore how far Starmer Starmer's popularity has fallen, and also the reality that the popularity has not fallen as a result of very tough decisions that are going to come good at a certain point, because there's always in government cycles a need to do that, to make tough decisions when you're not worrying about elections, when you've got a huge majority. But instead, the things that have caused this dent in popularity are Mandelson and Rayner and, you know, welfare debacles and being on the 4th director of communications in 16 months. I mean, this is really something where the wheels do appear to be coming off.
John, do you think that the Prime Minister will be regretting this interview? I mean, it's not really putting forward a
Well, there's only so
positive...
much lipstick he put on a pig, isn't there? You know, he's in a sense, he's just saying the obvious. And the details of that poll inside the Sunday Times, More in Common questioned 20,000 people. And it puts Reform on course to win 373 seats and Labour on just 90 if there was an election held tomorrow. But as you say, there's not going to be an election held tomorrow. Nonetheless, actually, Liverpool will be one of the seats that they do hold, my home city. But, you know, he has to face reality. There's no point in it. He'd be ridiculed if he went to Liverpool and was talking like there was not a problem. It's clear that the first year has been beset by problems.
But is it a mistake to be mentioning Nigel Farage in every other sentence?
Well, I think no. I think strategically the point of this is to solidify the progressive vote behind him, because Nigel Farage is a hugely divisive figure, regardless of how well Reform is doing in of itself. So his hope is that actually people that want to back the Greens or inclined towards the Jeremy Corbyn, Zara Sultana thing, or whatever that ends up being, people that kind of quite like the Liberal Democrats, people that are flirting with these independents that have come and pro-Gars and independents, as they're called now, that have been challenging Labour. But all of those voters particularly think, well, I really don't want Farage, so we've got to band together and hold my nose and I'll vote Labour to stop Farage. So that's the tactic behind talking up the threat of Reform.
I'm not sure Nigel Farage needs any more publicity, whether from Keir Starmer or anybody else. He's quite good at doing it himself.
But this is a problem, though, when you're not in politics and you don't understand why you're here and you don't know what your policies are, because you end up in a situation where you're fighting as if there's an election tomorrow and you're not thinking about long-term good policy decision-making for the country. I mean, actually, we should talk about the policy that he announced here, which is new towns, which is a plan to sort of invest in these new areas to promote growth. And it's basically 10,000 houses or so. I mean, is that a town? I'm not quite sure. It's kind of a generous definition, but actually a good thing to ensure that there are ways. Yeah, 300,000 in total, but each of the towns is about 10,000.
Doesn't say where the builders are going to come from either.
Well, there's
so that's a lot of homes to build.
Around delivery, and actually, but I think that trying to kind of galvanise house building is part of a real thing you could do that would genuinely improve people's lives and hopefully boost growth at some point.
Yes, staying and talking of growth and talking of the economy, let's look at the Sunday Telegraph. The headline there, ministers beg Reeves to unleash spending. John.
Well, if Keir Starmer's got a job and a half in Liverpool this week, so does Rachel Reeves, who's facing calls behind her in terms of the Cabinet and Labour MPs wanting more spending, and the Bank of England saying you've not got any money to spend. But this basically suggests that she's facing a vote at the conference from Unite in terms of calling for a wealth tax, which is not going to send the messages necessarily that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves want to send. But there's talk in the Sunday Telegraph that the government's been revisiting some of its fiscal rules. In a sense, the rules that she put in place for this Parliament, right at the start of the Parliament, where they're just a year in, she's going to rewrite them.
But she is going to have to rewrite something, isn't she? And primarily, taxes are inevitably going to have to go up. I mean, there's no way that's not going to happen, is there?
Absolutely, and I think this fiscal rule thing is a real problem, actually, because it's a sign of how economically illiterate most Labour MPs are, to be honest. Like, the fiscal rules effectively say, in 5 years, I'm going to try, I promise, spending will go down. They are not particularly tight. So the idea that the MPs think that if you change these rules again, somehow the markets would be completely fooled and we wouldn't be paying 100 billion billion a year on debt interest is just completely for the birds. And so, like, talking about the fiscal rules is a get-out-of-jail-free card, which basically says, why don't we borrow a bit more? The reality of what Reeves is faced with is I just really don't think that's an option. I think if she tried it, I think the bond markets might have something to say.
The dog that hasn't barked, though, in the papers is Andy Burnham. He's very quiet after...
Well,
after
actually, in the Telegraph article, it's saying that he's one of the few Labour figures calling for this wealth tax on expensive property. So he's made his views well known on that.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Sunday Mirror.
Well, everybody's got an exclusive interview with Keir Starmer. So, having talked to the Sunday Times, he's also been talking to the Sunday Mirror. And again,
He's still talking about Farage.
He is. and to your point, it's probably a mistake for him to be able to allow the Mirror to put Farage's name in the headline. But as you say, and he's very much trying to set this up as a battle between the two of them. And he's saying that actually Nigel Starmer's patriotism is not patriotism. He talks about the patriotism of loving flag and country, and that actually he says that he's as unpatriotic as it gets. Well, again, play the ball, not the man. It's not necessarily the best tactic. It's not very prime ministerial to show how rattled you are 4 years out from an election.
I think it's actually fine for you to stick the boot into your opponents. The problem is when that's the only thing you can say. And 16 months in, this should be about you and your agenda. And the fact that the most interesting thing you said was about someone else tells us that the hollowness that really is starting to cause concern behind the scenes in Number 10 and actually, honestly, amongst Labour backbenchers.
And he is pitting as a battle of personalities, isn't he, when he's saying, that Nigel Farage is more interested in lining his own pockets than helping fix the UK.
You'd have to say there's some peril in Keir Starmer making it a battle of personalities with Nigel Farage, because, it seems that most of the country actually know who they'd rather go and have a pint with, and it's not necessarily the Prime Minister.
And really critically, this whole point about lining his own pockets, Labour and the Conservatives have decided that the best way to approach Farage is to say he's just another politician. I just don't think this strategy is going to work, and I think that they're going to eventually have to come up with an actual attack on Farage that sticks better than this.
What do you think that might be?
Well, I think at the moment, the idea that people think all politicians are slightly on the make, so they may feel that Farage is at least honest about it. Him saying he's lining his own pockets. Keir Starmer doesn't pay for his own glasses. I really don't think that this is going to work. And I think actually talking about the fact that he has no solutions and talking about the fact that he just is preying on people's fears and the ideas he has don't work would be much, much, much better. And also accusing him of kind of student politics, of kind of first-look politics. People don't like Donald Trump, for instance, painting him with that kind of broad rhetoric and kind of irresponsible brush. All of these things are at his disposal. But really, it's not going to work until he decides on an attack and sticks to it, but also decides what he's for.
We're going to change tack, move away from politics, and actually we're going to move into royal politics, if you like, because Harry's calling out the men in grey suits, and the last time we had made reference to them was by his mother, Princess Diana.
Well, it's an interesting story that clearly Harry was over a couple of weeks ago and went to have tea with the King, and there were no pictures. He just disappeared for an hour or so, and it was reported subsequently. But then some details about a gift that Harry had given the Prince, had given the King, came out, and Harry is accusing royal courtiers of leaking that. And at the heart of this is the sense that the King isn't able to trust Harry in terms of what's being said. And Harry clearly is worrying that any leaks that come from the meeting will land at his door as opposed to elsewhere. And so this is a preemptive strike. It all dates from a story in The Sun on Friday when they gave details of a picture that had been handed to the King by Harry. While Harry didn't confirm what was in the picture, he did confirm that a picture was handed over. So it's all the detail and the concerns of a relationship between a father and son and a grandfather who's not able to see his grandchildren.
Anita?
Yeah, I mean, it's all broken down quite horribly. And I think that actually the thing that is most damaging and feels like is making this situation a great deal worse is all the constant briefing. And I don't actually think that either side is benefiting from wanting to ensure that their perspective is heard. Like, the court of the male's opinion is not what matters. And I do think that those, you know, whoever briefed this has the wrong idea, whether it came directly and was sanctioned or was more of a rogue thing. It certainly looks like it came from someone relatively close, but it's all, I think, incredibly unhelpful and just continues to erode, I think, trust and faith in and damages the institution as a whole.
Yeah, and you do just want them to rebuild their relationship in private, get the privacy that they need. Thank you both for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up, amongst the stories we'll be discussing this on the front of the Sunday Express. Its headline, NATO must be solid or war is inevitable. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hear that whistle and that crunch? We know that they're coming from the south of the city where there's a column of Russian armoury. I'm Alex Crawford and I'm Sky's special correspondent based in Istanbul. Look at that sheet of flames, and that has happened within minutes, and now it's coming from both sides and it's moving this way.
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No,
Do you...
He did it very affectionately. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Thank you. Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
The founding principle of the alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
I'm Cordelia Lynch, Sky's Asia correspondent based here in Bangkok. We've been undercover inside Asia's huge network of scam centres.
This compound is, without a doubt, the worst. It is essentially hell on earth.
We cover a vast, varied and dynamic region that's shaping the rest of the world.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.
I'm Dominic Waghorn, Sky's International Affairs Editor, covering a world that seems to be unravelling.
It's not his country, it's ours.
Sky News, the full story first, free wherever you get your news. It's half an hour now past the deadline that Hamas issued, and we've now seen a third barrage of rockets coming in.
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime.
They don't care for that.
Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, John Williams and Anita Boissin to take us through the papers. Let's start this section with the Sunday Telegraph. John, tell us about this story regarding a wall of drones, British-built.
Yeah, this is what's called Project Octopus. The Ukraine war really has been the war where, lightweight drones, it's not that dissimilar to the sort of thing you buy on the high street, have really made a difference. And both Russia and Ukraine have been using them to deadly effect. But also, Russia has been probing NATO in terms of sending planes and drones just this week into Denmark and Norway. And now John Healey, the Defence Secretary, has announced a plan to start building interceptor drones in British factories within weeks. And the plan is that they will patrol the European border to try to stop these incursions from Russia taking place. Quite whether they are successful or whether they end up being shot down, we'll see. But it's untried technology. But undoubtedly, this is the war where drones have come of age with terrible effect.
And this drone building programme is going to be done in conjunction with Ukraine.
Yes, and a great kind of, they're going to share the intellectual property. It should be kind of fascinating with the ultimate ambition to make it sort of a missile defence system. I feel like, as John says, really we are in the very modern era when it comes to this war. And we saw Britain being forced to deploy RAF Typhoons to kind of see off some of the drones that we saw earlier from into Poland and into Estonia. But it's interesting that they're really kind of going towards more towards the low cost, but also ultra high tech. Sorry, and I think that would be a really great thing for Ukraine, where resourcing is kind of incredibly scarce. And we saw Zelensky's very direct, plea at the United Nations, talking about how the war will become wider and deeper, and that really is, as ever, a plea for Western nations to put their hands in their pockets at a time when we've talked about the financial situation that the UK and other European countries find themselves.
It doesn't say where they're going to be controlled from, because every drone needs somebody to operate it currently, yeah. and equally the laws of engagement in terms of the rules of engagement as to what exactly they're going to do.
Meanwhile, the Express suggesting that NATO must be solid or war is inevitable. This is a warning from a defence expert, Keir Giles. He's the author of Who Will Defend Europe. And that's the point. It all comes back to President Trump. And for all of the warm words that he might be issuing about Ukraine right now, he's not issuing any warm words when it comes to Article 5, which is the article in the NATO constitution that means an attack on one is an attack on all. He has made very clear it's up to Europe to defend itself. And so if that remains the case, then that's a real concern for both defence chiefs, but also an opportunity for Vladimir Putin, because he knows that he'll be able to probe Europe without running the risk of poking the American bear. But for the moment, Anita, President Trump does seem to be behind Zelensky, even suggesting that he could win the war. Can we assume that that's the position that we can continue to take?
Absolutely not. I think I don't even consider it to be a position. It's a thing that Donald Trump said, right? So he's toying with these ideas, and I think I sort of see it as a sort of artistic impression of where his mind is moving, rather than saying, well, here's the new kind of solid policy upon which we can kind of negotiate. But I think, John, you said something striking there about it all comes down to the US. It should all come down to Europe. The question of who will defend Europe must be answered by Europe, and I think that the American president has painted in black and white, I think, some of the dynamics have been in existence for decades that Europe has failed to grapple with, which is namely that the US is less interested financially and practically in being the policeman and guaranteeing the security of Europe. And Europe has, despite the rhetoric and promises, which is what Keir Giles says from Chatham House, actually there has been little that's concretely been achieved by Europe to secure its future.
A little bit of sport to finish with. Victorious, we don't often win a lot of things, do we? So,
well, they're not doing too badly, are they?
Celebrate.
This is their third win, and the pictures were fantastic. And for a whole generation of schoolgirls and sort of whether you're a boy or a girl, in fact, it's absolutely fantastic pictures at Twickenham. You know, when the first World Cup was played, it was played up in Scotland in a small stadium, and there's Twickenham sold out. It was absolutely incredible, and congratulations to them.
Emphatic defeat of Canada, wasn't it? 33-13.
Absolutely. I'm not going to pretend to know much about rugby. I have played touch rugby before, but there's a great cartoon, by the way, in the Times saying a woman's place is on the rugby pitch, which I think is the perfect message to send.
Brilliant. Good news to end the show on. Thank you both, Anita and John. See you in the next hour.
Thanks.
I want to start the programme today with a name, a story that I can't get out of my head. The campaign has now started.
This is your chance. Tell people.
This is the Politics Hub. It's not correct. The tax burden is projected to go up.
No, I am talking about
No, but I'm not. This is my interview. Look, this is ridiculous.
No one does care about us.
I'm really interested in that. On the Politics Hub, we like to push the boundaries. He's got the majority. The question is, what is he going to do with it?
I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories.
This is insane.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
We call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first.